Timo, welcome to Built Resilient. My name is Bart Walsh. I'm a motivational, inspirational keynote speaker. I'm also a fitness expert. And this today is a Q&A episode. These are questions written in from listeners just like you. If you want to contribute, you probably know what to do by now. Write into hello@bartwalsh.com.au. Be as specific as you can about your question. Your question can be about anything in your life: emotional resilience, physical resilience, training, even mental resilience and mental health. Write them in. Hopefully I can point you in the right direction and inspire a few people along the way as well. But it's always good to have you here. Make sure you are subscribed to this show, pretty please. Make sure that you give us a like if you see something on Instagram. And hey, give us a share too. We're slowly getting the word out there on what we're doing here. And I need your help to create this revolution. So thank you for support. Thank you for listening. And let's dive in to the first question.
I'm currently going through a divorce, and the hardest part by far is the evenings. I walk into my house and it's just silence. How do you handle that feeling of coming home to emptiness every night without it swallowing you whole?
I've been doing a lot of presentations lately, and a lot of men in particular have been coming up to me afterwards and telling me about their divorce. And I don't quite know the divorce rates, but I know that they're quite high. But I know that there are hundreds of thousands, millions of people out there that are going through it right now. And not that I've ever been through one, but from the clients that I've coached and the people that I've met, divorce sucks. It really does. Because you feel like you've just lost years of your life. In a way, you feel like you've gained years if you've had kids in that relationship, but you feel like you're just starting from zero, and that the last however many years mean absolutely nothing to you. So I want you to understand that I feel you. I feel your pain. But I also want you to understand that now is an opportunity to draw a line in the sand and start something new. And dare I say, build something even better. Even if you feel lonely, even if you feel lost, I want you to understand that you are still worthy, even though what's happened to you. And no one ever goes into a marriage wanting a divorce. It's always some sort of a surprise to an extent. But understand that you're here. Let's own it, which it sounds like this person writing in sort of has. Let's create a new journey. I want to address the question: how do I handle the feeling of coming home to emptiness? And I can guarantee you there's people out there that aren't even married or divorced, and they're still coming home into an empty household. And these tips will help you too. The first thing I want you to do is create a ritual. The human body responds to novelty, so it adapts to novelty. When something happens to it that's unexpected, it'll change and adapt in a certain way, just in case if that thing happens again, it's ready for it. But the human body loves habit and ritual, because habit and ritual keep it safe. So we have to teach our body, our nervous system in particular, that this house, even though it's different, and even though it's a bit quiet, it's still a safe place. And the way we can do that is through repetition and through exposure. It's a type of exposure therapy. And this could be something like cooking a meal when you get home. It could be journaling. I'm big on journaling. Buy the most expensive journal that you can find, outrageously expensive, one that you question why it's even that price. Because if you buy an expensive one, you're probably going to use it. And start journaling in there, writing down your feelings, or maybe even start calling a friend, perhaps a friend that you used to be really close with, that you've lost touch with. And maybe that can be the start of your ritual. And tell them why you're doing it. Just say, hey, I feel lonely and I just need a familiar face and a familiar voice in my life to pick me back up and get me on the right track. Rituals structure empty space. They make empty space seem a little bit more rational. The second thing I want you to do is don't avoid the silence completely. In this modern world, we're scared of it. We're scared of being with our thoughts. We're scared of not having a TV on in the background or a podcast in our ears. And really that silence for a lot of us and a lot of our nervous system is something that we need to lean into. So I want you to learn to sit with it gently. Loneliness often softens when it's acknowledged and not fought. So yes, it might be uncomfortable, but lean in and really be with it. The advice I had many years ago with anxiety was be with it, is to sit with it, let it happen, and don't think you're broken because you're feeling this way because of it. And then I want you to reframe the season. reframe the season that you're in, and maybe change your expectation, because right now it's painful, it hurts, and it's going to be painful for a little while longer, particularly if kids are involved. But it's also an opportunity for you to rediscover you without compromise, you without anyone around you, you in your purest sense. So look, I hate that you're going through this. If there's anyone out there that's also going through this, I really hate it for you, and I'm sorry, I am. But it's also an opportunity. Like I say in my 3 Rules of Resilience presentation, every hardship is an opportunity for you to get better. It's an opportunity for you to gain a strength that you cannot gain in any other way. So own the circumstance, own the situation you're in, particularly with the silence that we're sitting in sometimes, and let's start a new journey. Okay, let's take a left and talk a little bit about doing a uni course that you don't really like.
I'm at uni, already sunk a heap of money into my course, but my gut says it's not right for me. Do I stay with it or walk away?
So there's something funny about doing an acting course at uni. Not that this person is doing it, but I did an acting course at university, and a lot of people in my year and my cohort aren't acting. They're not. They sort of follow the passion. But one thing I can guarantee you is they all took something from it. So first I want to address that. Even though you're not quite gelling with the course that you're doing, you're still going to learn something from it that will benefit you in the future. So don't feel like that this is lost time. See this as just another stepping stone. And then what I want you to do is focus and reflect on why it feels wrong. Why is there a disconnect between this course and what you're learning and where you want to go? Is it the subject, the career path, or the current season in life? Because it could be just that. It could just be you're going through a season that you need to explore, and maybe changing your course completely isn't the right option, but maybe deferring it for 6 months or a year just to experience something else might put your perspective in a different situation. And then before you make any decision, I want you to have a chat to your mentors at the school. I want you to have a chat to some alumni of your university, and maybe people working in the field that you're studying in, and just have a chat to them. Get to understand what their day-to-day is like, get to understand what their dreams are, get to understand how they feel, just to get a different perspective on what you're actually doing. Because when you're in uni, you're stuck in this studying silo, and your perception on what the industry is like is skewed because you're in the learning phase, when actually you might find that you don't just like the learning phase. And then once you're through it and you've got the degree and you get into the industry, that's when you start to fall in love with it all over again. It's similar to to studying fitness here in Australia. Some people think you must have the Queen's College step test, which is a fitness test that I think is a bit outdated. You must know it like the back of your hand, and you must know how to use body calipers, and your perception of what being a personal trainer is actually quite different to what it's like on the field in the gym. And almost to a fault, the curriculum in your Cert 3s and Cert 4s in fitness, I think, doesn't really prepare you for the day-to-day of being a personal trainer. It teaches you the essential skills, absolutely, but doesn't prepare you for the application of it. I'm sure it's the same with your degree as well. And then I want you to remember the sunken cost fallacy. Money and time already spent don't guarantee future satisfaction. And hey, you might find that you end up doing something completely different in 10, 15, 20 years' time, and that is absolutely okay. But as I mentioned, I can guarantee you what you're learning today will benefit you somehow in the future, which is why I'm a firm believer that everyone should go through the first year of acting school just to understand how to hold themselves and how to communicate better. Now, look, I hope this does help you. I know I've been a bit all over the place with this question, but I think that's the way to go. Reflect on why it feels wrong. Is it just the season of life that you're in, or is it the actual subject itself? Why don't you speak to other people in the field, because perhaps the job is actually different to the stuff you're studying at the moment. And I want you to remember that money and time already spent don't guarantee future satisfaction. And that's okay. But we don't know unless we try. All right, let's move on to the next question.
All my friends are buying houses, and I can't even save a decent deposit. How do I stop feeling ashamed that I'm behind financially?
If you do not own a house and other people in your circle do, it does not make you less of a person. You are still worthy. And in this economy, where it's so bloody hard to buy a house, it's so easy to get caught up in comparison culture with how other people are going financially. But understand that everyone is on a different journey. And everyone's journey is both contextual day to day and completely and utterly individual. So even if you're not there yet, do not think you are less. Because we all shower naked. We're all on the same level. At the end of the day, we're all humans. And this is a very frustrating situation to be in, particularly if you're the only person in your friend group that doesn't own, and you're stuck in this renting cycle where you just have to keep paying rent, and because you're paying rent, you're finding it even harder to save for that deposit. The first thing I want you to do is try and avoid the comparison culture, which I know is very, very hard, but then I want you to separate your self-worth from your net worth. Owning property is not a reflection as your value as a human. Owning property is just a contextual thing in your life. I want you to focus on what you can control. So I want you to focus on building saving habits, if indeed you do want to buy a house, which it sounds like you do. I want you to focus on reducing debt or planning realistically. Small wins compound over time. This is the 1% better rule in action. You simply saving even $10 a week, I know it seems like so little, but it's a starting point and it's progress. You creating that mindset for yourself and putting that money away over time means you'll get to your goal in time. It's just going to take a little while. But the most frustrating thing is that if you don't progress, the most frustrating thing is if you stay where you are. But you can create habits. You can focus on things that you can control to get you to where you want to go. Do not focus on what other people are doing, because you can't control that. You can control your own actions. And then I want you to curate your social circle conversations. If a house chat triggers shame or puts you into your shell, I want you to shift the topic or seek out people who value different markers of success. Hang around people who aren't always talking about renovating their house or the value of their house. Find people who talk about success in other ways. And finally, I want you to remember that seasons differ. You're in a season of your life. This season will change. Some people prioritize houses because they need to and they want to. Others prioritize travel. Others prioritize family or even study. But comparison ignores that context. And so perhaps you have prioritized a different part in your life in the past, and that's why you quite haven't saved for that house just yet. Love that. Lean in. You made that choice, you did it, and now we're in a different season, and this season is just going to take a little bit longer to flourish. But I understand the situation. The economy we're living in is crazy. House prices are nuts. We are so lucky to have gotten into the market maybe 5 years ago, and even then, if we waited another year, we wouldn't have made it. It would have been far too expensive for us. So we are so grateful for what we do have and grateful for the market that we're in, but we also understand the frustration for other people, first-home buyers, trying to buy their first home, but stay with it, all right? You're in this season, start making incremental steps to a bigger goal, and I can guarantee you it'll pay off if you commit to it.
At work, I feel invisible. No matter how hard I try, I'm overlooked. How do you stop feeling like you don't matter in your job?
I wonder how much of what we feel is made up in our head. Because, look, I don't know the person writing in this question, but I can guarantee you that you're not invisible to the people around you, particularly to the people you spend your most time with. But it's so easy for us to trick ourselves that we are. We read different signals, we look into things we shouldn't look into, the behaviors of other people, and because of that, it minimizes our self-worth. You feel like you're overlooked no matter how hard you try. I get it. The first thing I want you to do is clarify expectation, okay? Some managers don't realize that you want to be more visible, or they don't realize you want to have more input or have more influence. So I want you to have the conversation about those goals. And this simply could be the thing that turns this mindset around. You chatting to your manager or your colleagues saying, hey, I want more input, I want more responsibility, I think I'm ready. And this all of a sudden could create a chain of action that makes you feel a little bit more purposeful in your line of work, because yes, you feel invisible, but I also feel like you don't think you're making impact, or you don't think you're contributing to the bigger goal. So maybe that's the way we should reframe it. How can I contribute to what we're doing better to make me feel like I have more purpose in what I'm doing? And then, like a lot of things in this world, I want you to find small wins. I want you to find small wins that give your mind evidence that you are not invisible. Stuff like volunteering for projects or helping someone out in another department that they might need help with, speaking up in meetings, or even presenting a meeting for yourself, even asking for 5 minutes in the team meeting to explain a process or explain an opportunity, or even sharing updates on your own job, they can shift how other people do their job. Try and be a bit proactive to make yourself feel like you're not invisible in team meetings and especially in group situations. And then I want you to anchor your worth outside of the workplace too. Because my thought process is if you feel invisible at work, you probably feel invisible in life too. Am I right? So let's find worth and let's find value in stuff outside of work too. Because it sounds like to me you love your job, or you at least like your job, but you want to be more recognized. You want to have more validation what you're doing is the right thing. And we can have that worth, we can create that feeling outside of work too, which will feed into what you do in your 9 to 5. So when you create worth, I want you to anchor it. When identity is tied to your job, recognition or lack of it hits a lot harder. So it could be starting that side hustle. It could be starting that YouTube channel you've always wanted. I know, God knows I have, but it gives you a bit of worth. It gives you something to focus on. So find that thing, the thing that lights you up, and work towards it outside of work too. Team, there we go. Short and sharp episode today. Information and direction, tips direct into your brain. Thank you for listening today, team. If anything resonated with you today, the best thing you can do for me is to share it with someone that might need to hear it, or share it with a loved one who wants to know what's going on in your head too. This is the best way to get my word out, but as always, hit the 5-star rating. Give us a like where you can, and I know I say it a lot, but I really mean it. I really appreciate you guys listening. I know there's a dedicated cohort of you that make it through every single episode, so if that is you and you are listening to this, you're part of the original 5 people that are listening. I really appreciate it. I do. And let's grow this thing together. Thank you for your support. Thank you for listening. And as always, team, remember to choose resilience.